Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. One more hour till we're at the weekend. If you're done for the week, enjoy it. If you're not quite to the finish line yet, we'll get you there here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I just saw Matt Moscona in the hallway, which is quite impressive considering he hasn't been here in like 2 weeks. But he's here, so he'll be here on After Further View coming up at 3 o'clock. I will be at the Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee at a little after 3 o'clock hanging out. So you're going to do some weekend grocery shopping? Come hang out with me. Beck, how's Sahith Theegala doing? You told me how great a pick that was yesterday when I told you about my fantasy golf pick.
Yeah.
Right out of the chute, first pick of the year, Century Tournament of Champions, Sahith. How am I doing?
He is currently tied for 54th, and this is a 60-player tournament. He's 54th.
He's beat 6 guys?
4 or 6, yeah.
So
6,
last year, the final round of the Century was the lowest round in relation to par in the history of the PGA Tour. So Sahith obviously shot what? He shot 65 yesterday?
He shot 76 yesterday.
76.
Yep, he is 3. He's currently.
I can shoot 76.
I don't know if you could shoot 76.
Not from those teams, but in my life, I've shot number of 76.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's not very good.
No, it's not. He's currently even through 3 holes as well. No birdies
I
yet.
did, in the course of doing the research for this segment we're about to get to, I discovered that my fantasy team, Baton Rouge's Eeyore, which was so adequately named, I was named that by the Tiger Droppings crew, so I used it as my fantasy football team name. I, this year, had Saquon Barkley, who is 101 yards away from the all-time NFL single-season rushing mark, and Brock Bowers, who is 9 catches away from the all-time single-season tight end catches mark. That's great roster composition by me. Don't ask about the playoffs. Not important. Didn't get that done because Saquon got hurt in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We can't have that.
Tough.
But that's incredible roster composition by me, an incredible GM. What a fantasy player. Got a guy that's almost in last place on the PGA Tour and can't win a fantasy game with 2 of the greatest seasons in the history of the sport. So that's where we are. Let's get ready for Week 18 in the National Football League.
Hold on. I'm going
to hold on.
Okay, there we go.
There it is. Now we're ready. Tier 4. I got to be honest. I thought there would be better matchups this week in the NFL than there are. There's a lot of Tier 3 and Tier 4 this week, but we'll get through it. The Jaguars are at the Colts. I try to find a fun fact for all these games. There's nothing at stake or fun about this game at all. The best fact I could find is that Brian Thomas Jr. needs 5 touchdown catches to pass Allen Robinson for the most in the single season by a Jaguar. He's got 10 on the whole year, and he's second. So I don't think that's going to happen. Don't watch the Jaguars and the Colts. All right, Bills at Patriots. This is Tier 4. The Bills are the 2 seed no matter what. Josh Allen is going to start. And the only really other intrigue is that the Patriots lose, they pick first. So they should probably think really hard about losing. The Giants are at the Eagles. As I mentioned, Saquon Barkley, 101 yards short of Eric Dickerson's single-season record, but he will sit for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. The Giants are really trying hard to screw all this up. They're terrible. They need to overhaul the whole deal. They need a new quarterback. They won last week. They might win this week because the Eagles aren't really trying. Everybody knows that the Giants are in big, big trouble. All right, 49ers are at the Cardinals. This is Tier 4 as well. How bad is this game? ESPN.com, one of the sites I use to find some nuggets, their bold prediction in this game is that somebody named Mac Wilson is going to bat down a pass. That was literally what they wrote on ESPN.com. That's how bad and uninteresting 49ers at Cardinals is. So we'll move on from that. Tier 3, not great, but here we are. Browns at the Ravens. Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson are currently tied for the NFL sack lead at 14, so Myles Garrett will try to win that crown in this game against the Ravens, who, if they win, will win the AFC North. The Panthers are at the Falcons. Can Michael Penix kind of keep it rolling? We'll see. Bryce Young's actually been a little bit better. However, he is 0-12 on the road. That's not very good. The Falcons need help from the Saints to win the South. They also need to take care of business against Carolina. We'll see if they can do it. Still in Tier 3, the Bears are at the Packers. If the Packers can sack Caleb Williams 9 times in this game, He'll tie the record set by David Carr for most sacks of a quarterback in a season. I don't know if they're going to get there 9 times. Josh Jacobs has a rushing touchdown in 7 straight games, which doesn't sound that crazy, but no one has done it in 8 straight for the Packers since Paul Hornung in 1960. So we'll see if Josh Jacobs can get
Paul
that
Hornung?
done. Yeah, whatever. Hornug, whatever. Same guy. You knew who I was talking about.
There's a award
1960.
named after him, huh?
I don't
Come
care
on.
about Paul Hornung. He's old. He probably wasn't that good. All right. Probably good. I don't know.
He was pretty good.
Texans at the Titans. Houston has locked in at the 4 seed. The Titans could pick anywhere from 1st all the way back to number 7, so it'd be in their interest to lose the game. The Chargers are at the Raiders. As I mentioned earlier, Brock Bowers needs 9 catches to break the all-time record for catches in a season by a tight end. Jacob Beck, do you know who holds the record for most single-season catches by a tight end?
I'm going to guess Tony Gonzalez.
Incorrect. I would think I could give you 10 guesses and you wouldn't get it because I don't think you would get to Zach Ertz.
Nope.
But he does hold that record. The Dolphins are at the Jets. Aaron Rodgers needs 1 touchdown to get to 500 in the NFL. This is likely his last game as a Jet. That's it in Tier 3. Let's go to Tier 2. The Bengals are at the Steelers. The Bengals have won 4 straight. To stay alive, the Steelers have lost 3 straight. They are reeling. The Bengals gave up 264 yards after the catch in their loss to the Steelers back in Week 13. That is the most anyone has allowed in a single game all year. We'll see if the Bengals can pull off a miracle. They would be a little dangerous in the playoffs if they got there, but I don't think they're going to get there. The Commanders are at the Cowboys. Dallas at home this year, minus 116-point differential. That's just awful. It's the first time since 2000 that Washington has laid more than 2.5 at Dallas. They're almost a touchdown favorite in this game. The Chiefs are at the Broncos. I put this up here solely because of the Broncos implications. They need a win or a tie to get in the playoffs. The Bengals, of course, need the Chiefs to win. And for that to happen, Carson Wentz is going to have to play pretty well because Pat Mahomes is going to sit this one out with a bum ankle. Seahawks are at the Rams. The Seahawks are out, but this is a money game for Geno Smith. And when I tell you it's a money game for Geno Smith, it's a money game for Geno Smith. He gets $2 million each for these things. If they win, 10th win, $2 million to Geno. If he throws for 185 yards, hits an incentive, a $2 million bonus there. And he's got to finish the season at 69.76% completion. He's 1 point higher than that at 70.2 right now. How many checkdowns is Geno Smith going to throw in this game? I think a lot to try to get to $2 million. And Tier 1 is 1 game. The Vikings are at the Lions on Sunday Night Football. We'll wrap it up without the music. That's okay. We just about got there, but it's the most games they play.
Well, it's not. It's just there's a little bit of a break between the
and then that comes.
Song, yeah. And
that's really what we need for Tier 1, isn't it? Vikings and Lions, the most wins between competitors in the history of the NFL. Not surprising because both of them have 14 wins. The winner will get the 1 seed. It's the first time we've had a winner gets the 1 seed game since 1993 when the Cowboys played the Giants. No Lions running back has ever had 3 straight 100-yard games. Well, shouldn't say that. Hasn't happened since Barry Sanders did it in 1998. Jahmyr Gibbs could do it on Sunday night. The Vikings are the NFL's oldest team. They would really like to get a bye. They need that win to get a bye in Detroit. And Dan Campbell is 4-1 against Kevin O'Connell. The Vikings are -7 in the turnover margin in those 4 losses. Man, here we'll see if they can get it done in this one. The Vikings kind of came out of nowhere. We expected it from the Lions, but they've done it with a lot of injuries. So looking forward to that one on Sunday Night Football. That is the slate for the NFL in Week 18. Beck, what are you looking for in this one? The Bengals? Gotta be the Bengals.
Well, So the Bengals, if they can, what are all the other results?
So
that
they need the Chiefs to beat the Broncos in Denver with Carson Wentz.
That's possible, I think.
How hard are the Chiefs going to play? They're the 1 seed. I hope.
I was actually listening to Live Lunch on the way here, and they had Bruce Marshall on, and he was saying, he was mentioning how. The people always talk about, these teams are resting guys. Well, the guys that are playing are going to be playing hard. They're obviously not as good as the starters.
The point is that you can't rest all your starters. You can't put the walk-ons in in college.
Yeah.
Like you've got your 53, and Mahomes can sit. And if they want Kelsey to take his shoulder pads off, he can do that too. But you're probably going to start your deal. I mean, Chris Jones, I guess they could sit. There are some guys, but it's only you can only choose to sit 4 guys or so. You got to play the rest of them. But you just got to think that the
Broncos should win the game. I think
they should. I need Bo Nix to really gag is what
we've seen
need.
that happen before.
We certainly have. I've also seen him just go absolutely nuts inside Tigers. I will see that play that he made when he scrambled around all over the field and then threw it to that crossing tight end. I will see that in my nightmares. That was just it's an amazing statistic that all those great Auburn teams over the years, the two guys that came in and busted the streak were Bo Nix and Brian Harsin. Brian Harsin came in.
Sitting on a couch right now.
Just he is. He's but yeah, they need that, and I don't know that they're going to get it. They also do have to go on the road and win a game that they don't win all that often. They're at Pittsburgh. I don't know. The Steelers do have, they can still win the North. So they're if they would need the Ravens to lose to the Browns, which is unlikely. But the Browns aren't going to rest anybody, and Myles Garrett trying to get sack records.
Bengals,
so
2.5-point favorites right now on the road in Pittsburgh.
The Bengals are good. They're not good on defense.
Their defense is horrible.
But Burrow and Chase are just obscene. It's ridiculous. They just gagged too early, as is always the case. They got to figure. I don't know if Zach Taylor's going to be around if they lose or they don't get in, but I don't understand why they're so bad so early. You could have pinned it on Burrow getting hurt, the appendicitis, and all that kind of stuff that happened early. But it's just too consistent. They get off to a terrible start every year, and in that conference, you just can't do that. You can't expect to consistently go to Kansas City, to go to Buffalo, to potentially go to Baltimore. Like, you're never going to get through that consistently. They did it once. But it's just hard to imagine them consistently doing it now. I don't even think they're going to get into the playoffs. So we'll see. I'll be pulling for them, but I have my sincere doubts about how that's going to go on the win day. But that's looking at the NFL slate for Saturday and Sunday. All right, LSU and Vanderbilt tomorrow. I'm excited for this one, y'all. I think you can probably sense that. I don't know how geeked this town is for basketball at the moment. I have my hopes and wishes, but I also have my reality. So we'll see. I'm going to tell you about Vanderbilt coming up. They've got some really eye-catching statistics on two different aspects of the basketball game. So we'll talk about some of that, my key thoughts for LSU. And I still have to talk about LSU's defense by the numbers. If you missed this in the first segment of the show today, I talked about LSU's offense by the numbers, and those numbers were really reflective of what we saw. There were some of the things that I saw defensively that kind of surprised me a little bit with where LSU ranked in the Southeastern Conference. So we'll do that coming up in 30 minutes. Hoops when we get back, though. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. Actually, exchanged texts with Jonathan Carbo earlier today. Going to swing by Highland Insurance Group next week. I said, any chance I can get by to look at some driver registrations, some name storm deductibles, hail deductibles, uninsured motorist forms. I'm all in for it. Of course, none of y'all have any idea what I'm talking about, but it's insurance. It's insurance-ese, and I'm still fairly fluent in it from my days in the industry. It's not the most fun thing to talk about, but it is important. I have also sat there at my desk when insurance and seen insurance save businesses. When Ida came through and folks lost power and had to be closed for multiple weeks, and you're talking about small businesses, insurance can be the savior. And it's not if your policies are wrong because you cut some corners so you could save a couple bucks on the premium. That's what you need to try to avoid if you're a business owner. Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group can help you out with all of it. They can also do your group and employee benefits. They're your one-stop brokers. They're an insurance independent agency right here in Baton Rouge, and they're fantastic to work with. You don't have to be in Baton Rouge. If you're just looking for another option, you're in the state of Louisiana and would love to talk with a broker that knows what they're doing, talk to Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got a hankering for a po' boy? Corks is a spot. Awesome loaded shrimp po' boys, jumbo golden brown shrimp, awesome catfish po' boys as well. I always tell the story. Glenn West told me I turned him on to Corks po' boys here in Baton Rouge. Glenn's a New Orleans guy. He knows a po' boy. Says that Corks is as good as there is in town. I would concur. That recipe for that golden fried catfish jumbo shrimp, born right here in the seafood capital of the world, South Louisiana. They're on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Get on by and see Michael and Paul. Tell them that you heard about them on the Hunt Palmer Show. And get you a po' boy over there at Corks. LSU and Vanderbilt tomorrow from the PMAC, and I can't wait to get in there. In a little different capacity these days. For the last few years, I've been able to go in and put on my purple and gold and cheer pretty loud, get a cold pop or two. Now I'll be sitting up at the press row, which is just fine. LouisianaSports.net will have you covered there. I would submit maybe not quite as fun as going in and grabbing a cold beer and screaming, but I'll be excited to be in the building. And you can do the screaming for me. I got my LSU stuff on today. I'll probably have on some Navy shirt tomorrow, but you'll know where my allegiance lies. And I'm excited to see LSU and Vandy in the PMAC. Vandy is very interesting. I would have thought, entering the season, and I don't really try to really dive deep into SEC basketball rosters around Thanksgiving. They're all kind of overhauled with a lot of transfers, and I just kind of wait till I can watch. But I would have picked Vandy to be among the worst teams in the league. They weren't very good last year. Certainly Missouri was winless in league play, but Vanderbilt wasn't very good last year. They ended up parting ways with Jerry Stackhouse, and they bring in Mark Byington, who comes from James Madison, who kind of took over the college sports world last year. You got Signetti, who moved on to Indiana in football, and Mark Byington, who moved on to Vanderbilt in basketball. And he went to the transfer portal and kind of scraped some guys together, and they've played really good basketball to this point. At this juncture, after non-conference play, Vanderbilt is 12-1 on the season. They've got wins over Cal. They beat the Cal by 16. They beat Nevada by 2. They beat Seton Hall by 16. Won at Virginia Tech in that ACC Challenge by 16 points. Beat TCU by 9. So they've had a good go of it in non-conference play. Their lone loss was to a good Drake team by 11 points there. So quality team and a team that has some eye-popping statistics to this point. They lead the country in steals per game. They steal the ball 11 times per game. And we know that LSU has had their issues with turnovers, and you just simply can't do that against this Vanderbilt team. They will make you pay for it with points off turnovers in bunches. And so that is absolutely unequivocally key number one in this game. You look at Vanderbilt, and Tyler Tanner has been great with them, especially in terms of taking away the basketball. He leads all freshmen in the country with 32 steals. That's 15th among all players in the country. He comes off the bench. He's a smaller point guard, freshman, real quick. Jordan Sears has got a lot of years on him, and they're just as quick as one another. But you've got to take care of the ball and not let Vanderbilt take it from you. And it's not a deal. We talked to Vanderbilt's play-by-play man in the first hour. It's not a deal where Vanderbilt gets into a full-court press and gives you Nolan Richardson 40 minutes of hell. They don't play some sort of trapping three-quarter court defense. It's not like some sort of relentless ball pressure up and down the floor like some of Shaka Smart's VCU teams. It's just a defense that is built on quickness and instincts, and it's effective, and they play small ball because of it. The tallest guy that's going to start the game tomorrow very likely is Devin McLaughlin, who's 6'7". They'll put Tyler Nickel out there, who's 6'7" but he's more of a shooter. They'll start a couple of 6'4" wings, and then Jason Edwards, who will probably start the game, is 6'1". He may not start. He may come off the bench. He has over the last couple of weeks. But you're talking about a lot of guards that are going to be on the floor, and they're going to be aggressive in passing lanes and aggressive in terms of trying to turn the ball over. And meanwhile, while Vanderbilt does such a good job of turning people over, they don't turn it over a lot. They're 7th in the nation in turnover rate offensively. And so when you only turn the ball over on 13% of your possessions, you become a beast in terms of turnover margin, and they're 5th in the country in turnover margin. What that does is it allows you to outshoot in terms of the volume of the shots your opponent. And when I looked at Vanderbilt's stat sheet, it checks out because they have attempted about 80 more shots than their opponents, and they've attempted about 80 more threes than their opponents. And it just stands to reason, if you get 80 more shots up than your opponents, you're going to outscore your opponents significantly. That's the statistic I'll be most interested to see tomorrow when I read the box score. I'll go down the steps and I'll go into the courtside club and I'll wait for Matt McMahon with the rest of the crew, and Matthew Bruni will be there, and Glenn West will be in there, and Michael Cobble and Jacques Doucet will be in there, and we'll be waiting on Matt McMahon, and one of the SIDs will walk over and hand us a stat sheet. And the first thing, I'll know what the result is, but the first thing that I think will be they'll tell the story was LSU's turnovers, Vanderbilt's turnovers, and how many shots and free throws the two teams got. Because both of these teams have been pretty good as far as defensive efficiency goes. Vanderbilt's 21st in the country. LSU's in the top 25. LSU's first shot defense has been fantastic this year. But if you get outshot by 8 or 9, 10, 11 shots, and they shoot 8 or 9 more free throws than you, it's going to be really tough to win the game. That is the story of this game. Now, the good news for LSU is that Vanderbilt doesn't hurt you badly on the glass. I mentioned they don't have a lot of size. A lot of the time, the tallest guy on the floor for Vanderbilt is going to be 6'7". You talk about offensive rebounding percentage, they're 124th in the country, which playing a little bit of a lighter non-conference schedule is not a huge number. And that's been LSU's bugaboo for the majority of the non-conference portion of the schedule, allowing second shots. I just mentioned it. Their first shot defense is good. You've got to clear the glass. And that goes into allowing additional shots as well. I think on LSU's home floor, the Tigers have a little bit of an advantage here. I'm curious to see what the line is posted tomorrow. Vanderbilt has not shot the three great, 34%. That's 165th in the country. And LSU hasn't shot the three great. It's always a make or miss sport. I say that a lot, and it's very cliche, but it is true because you can make bad shots and you can miss good shots. You'd rather take good shots, but some days it's your day, some days it's not. That's kind of the story of this game. I can talk to you about some of the players Vanderbilt's got. Jason Edwards comes off the bench and leads them in scoring at 18.5. I mentioned Tyler Tanner, who's been sensational with 30-plus steals and doesn't turn the ball over really ever. And then they've got Tyler Nickel, who's a knockdown shooter at 37% from three. They've got Jason Edwards, who shoots 40% from three. So it's a solid team, but it is a team that's on the bottom end of the SEC as far as talent. I believe LSU is in that boat as well. I think LSU's got a little bit of advantage here, and it's a huge, huge game. Now, I've tried this for 2 weeks, and I'll try it one more time. Actually, I'll probably try it a few more times as we move forward into some of these tougher games. But this is going to be really difficult for LSU over the course of 18 games. I think LSU, as far as what I've seen, is in the bottom 4 or 5 as far as raw talent in this league. However, LSU's old, they defend, and they've got a couple guys that can score and shoot. They haven't done it consistently, but they can. And we've seen LSU handle business against mid-tier teams from Power 5 leagues. They handled Florida State. They handled Kansas State. They handled UCF. This is kind of in that vein. I think Vanderbilt's similar to some of those teams. I think the bottom of this league is probably, in no specific order, just in this group, Vanderbilt, Missouri, LSU, South Carolina. That's Georgia-ish. Like, that's kind of the bottom tier of the league. You need to take advantage of those games. And when I say that's kind of the bottom tier of the league, I don't mean they're bad teams. They're not. None of those teams are bad. There's usually a couple of bad teams in the league. Missouri was bad last year. Vanderbilt was bad last year. Nobody's bad from where I'm sitting right now. And LSU's not bad, but I think they're going to be in a fight to try to win basketball games in this league. Tomorrow's an opportunity to get it done. And if you're a fan that's kind of getting into basketball right now, I promise I'm not like preaching. I'm just telling you, there's a couple 30-point beatdowns coming LSU's way. There's a 3 or 4 game losing streak coming LSU's way. It's just not avoidable, in my opinion. If they don't have any of that over the next 18 games, I will hold my hand up, say, wow, I underestimated this squad. I underestimated last year's squad, and they gave me reason to in the non-conference. And maybe I'm just being a little bit protective and defensive of a basketball program that is not mature at this point. But I'm just telling you what my eyes see, and that's all I can sit here and do. My eyes tell me this league's going to be really rough. LSU has a chance to get to 7 or 8 wins, but it's going to take some doing, and it really needs to start tomorrow. And I've done this twice. I'll do it one more time. Please try to come out to the PMAC tomorrow and support the team. The student turnout is probably not going to be great because they're not in class. It's a great game time, especially for those that may be 45 minutes or an hour outside of Baton Rouge that can come in, not compromise your entire day or your evening or get home too late. Check it out. See if you can get some tickets and come on in for LSU and Vanderbilt. Should be a good one in the PMAC. I'm looking forward to it. My full preview for this game is going to be up tomorrow morning at louisianasports.net, so I'll tweet that out if you're following me on Twitter. You can check that out. Speaking of louisianasports.net, I wrote a story earlier today that detailed LSU's offense football-wise by the numbers. I talked about it at the top of the show. I'm going to do defense coming up next, and the defensive statistics did surprise me significantly. I'll tell you why coming up next. Beck? We got a button?
The Hunt Palmer Show.
We do have a button. That was a great job. Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is that website. Mitchell Fisher and his team are fantastic. I told you earlier in the week about how quickly they helped us last week. We found out, we told Myers, hey, can you go open that front door? He can. He had not been able to do that previously with the lock there. He can do it now. We don't want him opening the door on his own. We've got a sensor right now that tells us the front door has opened, but it only echoes off the keypad right by our garage. We want one in the bedroom. So we called Mitchell Fisher and said, hey, we'd like a sensor put in the bedroom as well so that when one of the doors in the house opens, we're alerted if we're back there in the bedroom. And he did. He came over 2 days later. They got it installed in 25 minutes, and we've been thrilled with it. That's part of the customer service of working with a local company like Audio Video Security Solutions. There's nothing that's as important as your home and your family and their safety. And Audio Video Security Solutions is who we've trusted at the Palmer House with our home security. If you have a need for a security system at your home, cameras, keypad, burglar alarm, all that, they can handle it at Audio Video Security Solutions. You can check them out online at avssla.com. That's avssla.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, let's talk a little football here on this Friday. Hope your work week is winding down or has wound down. Getting to the weekend. I'm headed to Rouse's Burbank and Lee coming up here in 25 minutes or so. So if you're doing some grocery shopping this evening, come see me. Rouse's Burbank and Lee. We can play a little Plinko, potentially win a gift card, win some shirts, hats, cups, keychains, talk some sports. I always have a good time at Rouse's. Looking forward to that. Check it back. How would you say LSU's defense performed this year?
I would say better than 2 years ago. But not much.
Better than 1 year ago.
Or sorry, 1 year ago, yeah.
But not much. So not much. You would say not very good.
I would say below average.
Okay. I probably would have said the same. I did a piece for LouisianaSports.net, which is going to be posted tomorrow. But this is the gist of it that I'm going to go through it in this segment, do it in video form and audio form. The numbers are really bad. I mean, really bad. And that surprised me a little bit because I didn't feel like as you mentioned, last year, I thought they had no chance, like ever. And I didn't really feel that way this year. I thought they had a chance, but the numbers are bad, and we'll go through them. In a 16-team league, LSU was 14th in the league in scoring defense, 24.3 points per game. They were 11th in total defense, 14th in yards per play allowed, and then tackles for loss, 13th in the SEC. And those numbers are all really, really poor. And then you go in to break them out into rushing and passing, and you can't even really delineate. They were 12th in the league in run defense. In terms of yard per carry allowed, they were 13th. Rushing touchdowns allowed, they were the worst in the SEC. They gave up 26. That's dead last. They were 10th in passing defense. They were 12th in completion percentage allowed, 12th in yards per attempt allowed. They intercepted the ball the fewest times in the league. All these numbers are down in the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the league. Maybe I'm just not on the same page as maybe some of you, or maybe I am, but it surprised me that the numbers were that stark. You were 7th in the SEC in sacks, and then in terms of explosives, it was not good. 20-plus yard plays, you were 13th. In 10-plus yard rushes, you were 12th. In 20-plus yard passes, so big plays through the air, you were 10th. On third down percentage allowed, you were 14th. In red zone touchdown percentage, you were 14th. It's pretty shocking. In the piece that I wrote for LouisianaSports.net, I laid out 22 statistics. LSU finished 10th or worse in 17 of the 22. And the only statistic that LSU's defense was top 3 in the SEC was fourth down defense, which I don't even know that you could take a lot from. I mean, how often do you have the opportunity to stop a fourth down? A couple of times a game? It's a huge play more often than not, but it's such a small sample size. And if you had told me in August that's what this would look like, I probably would have bought it. I think that a lot of you, especially if you're on Instagram or social media, can recall a segment I did that got a lot of views on Reels where I went on and was like, I don't think these guys can cover. And because we would go out to practice and it looked like pitch and catch for Nussmeier and the wide receivers. And I talked about it. And a lot of folks, barked back at me, suggesting that was stupid and that Corey Raymond was going to fix it and that Ashton Stamps was great and Zy Alexander was back. And I had concerns. And then early in the USC game, they did cover. And I thought against Ole Miss, they did a pretty good job. And outside of the big running plays against South Carolina, I thought they did a decent job. But when I start to look at these statistics and realize that you're in the bottom 3 or 4 in just about every defensive statistic, my presumption is that this has a lot more to do with Jimmys and Joes than X's and O's. The names that I rattled off in this written piece, and I just kind of pulled from recent memory. So when I look at LSU's defense this year, I just don't see Michael Brockers and Glenn Dorsey and Benny Logan on the interior. I don't see Kaylavon Chason or Kiki Mingo or Arden Key or Marcus Spears on the edge. I don't see Kevin Minter. I don't see Kendall Beckwith or Devin White. I don't see Patrick Queen. I don't see Patrick Peterson or Derek Stingley or Morris Claiborne or Tyrann Mathieu. I don't see Jamal Adams or Eric Reed or LaRon Landry. And you realize that I'm going through some of the greats of the last 20 years, which is the golden era of LSU football. But you had those guys on every team. I'm not going to do the exercise, but I can point to just about every team and pick a couple of guys on defense that played in the NFL for 6 or 7 years. And when I look at this defense, I just don't see it. Maybe Braden Swinson plays for a little bit and becomes a pass rush specialist. Maybe Savion Jones sticks around for a little bit. Harold Perkins didn't play much for this year, but maybe Zy Alexander surprises me and sticks on with a team. But you certainly didn't have any all-conference players outside of Whit Weeks. And you just, to me, didn't have the personnel of those classic LSU defenses. And that's what the difference has to be. I do think that Blake Baker can coach defense. I do think that Corey Raymond can develop corners. I do think Bo Davis can develop defensive linemen. I think Kevin Peoples did a really good job this year. I don't know a ton about Jake Olson, but I trust Blake Baker's acumen for dealing with the defense. They've got to go get dudes for this defense. And so let me lay out some names here, and we'll see if this is fixable from 2024 to 2025. I think these guys have a good chance to start for the next defense. And I'm not telling you they're going to win the Thorpe Award or the Nagurski Award, but could they be all-conference players? Could they be second-round picks? Jakeem Jackson, former 4-star recruit, sophomore starter at Florida. DJ Pickett, 5-star recruit. Harold Perkins, healthy. Patrick Payton, who's had as many sacks and tackles for loss in 3 years at Florida State as Kiki Mingo did at LSU. Whit Weeks in his 3rd collegiate season. Dominic McKinley or Ahmad Bro in their 2nd season with another year in the weight program. If you could tell me that a couple of those guys are first-team all-league players, well, all of a sudden this starts to feel a little bit different. And I realize that first-team all-league players come in better defenses and all that. It's a chicken and the egg type deal. But, I'm hopeful that you have found some of those great players who are eventual, 5-year starters in the NFL. Because without that, you can't compete. When you look at the top of the league this year, Texas and Tennessee were in the top 7 nationally in total defense. Georgia was 30th in the country in total defense, and they played a murderous schedule. If you play at the level LSU did, you have no chance to compete for championships. You can't compete for championships with the number 14 scoring defense in the SEC. You can't compete for championships finishing 13th in the SEC in tackles for loss. You can't compete for championships if you're 14th in the SEC in red zone touchdown percentage allowed, if you're 14th in the SEC in third down yardage allowed. You can't compete for championships in the SEC if you allow more 20-yard plays than 12 teams in the SEC. You just can't. And I thought as the dust settled on this team defensively, they were like, yeah, they were average. They weren't average. They were bad. And it's up to the staff now to determine why that was. Was that because you weren't prepared? Was that because your scheme was bad? Was that because your tackling was bad or your execution was bad? Or was that because you didn't have the guys capable of going out there and getting it done? Here are a couple of statistics that I want to harp on briefly that I think indicate the Jimmys and Joes aspect of this. LSU was 12th in the SEC in completion percentage allowed and dead last in interceptions. I think those statistics point straight to dudes. Because you just call the defense and you tell them to get in their stance and go play. Guys making plays on the football is not the scheme. It's not. Guys making plays on the football is guys who know how to make plays on the football. And in my estimation, LSU did not have enough of those guys this year. Jakeem Jackson, Mansour Delane, DJ Pickett, those are the guys that need to come in and push for spots. We'll see if they do. But that's a look at LSU's defense. Statistically, not good enough to be a championship level team. And that's the expectation around here. Whether you think that's realistic or not in 2025, it's the expectation. We'll see if they can get there. All of our LSU content is online at Hunt on LSU. You can find it on YouTube, wherever you find your podcast. Search Hunt on LSU and check all of that out. I forgot to mention this in the last segment. We talked about basketball with LSU and Vanderbilt. All of our basketball content, if you'd like to find that and not try to wade through the full shows to see it and you're interested in basketball, Hoops with Hunt is back. It's on the same feed it always was, so just search Hoops with Hunt. Same purple and black logo if you were familiar with that from a long time ago. But it's just all of our basketball segments from this show repurposed into Hoops with Hunt. So I invite you to go check all of that out as conference play cranks up tomorrow. One more time out. We'll come back and wrap it up. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Your buying experience at Genesis of Baton Rouge is going to be luxury in every way. You're going to feel like a guest at their dealership, not like a customer. Their brand ambassadors are going to help you every step of the way. Could be in the store, could be completely remote. Have them come to you, but they're first class to deal with. They're not going to be pushy. They're not going to be salesy. They're just helpful because they don't have to be salesy. Once you get behind the wheel of these Genesis, you'll understand the difference. It's a phenomenal line of vehicles, and they're as safe as any cars on the road. Every single model in this line of vehicles has been given the IIHA top safety pick, and some of them were top safety picks plus. If you're looking for safety, they got you covered. Sleek design, got you covered. Comfortability, got you covered. It's an incredible line of vehicles over at Genesis. Highly suggest you check them out at Airline near Pico. They're right next to, across the street from Women's Hospital. New on the block, it's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Go check them out, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
The Hooters College Football Bowl Pick'em Challenge presented by Yingling is underway. Make sure to check the leaderboard and your inbox to see if you qualified for the final round of picks and your shot at $1,000 cash and $200 from Hooters. Our grand prize winner will be notified January 13th. It's the Hooters College Football Bowl Pick'em Challenge presented by Yingling at 1045ESPN.com. And Week 18 in the NFL starts tomorrow when the Ravens host the Browns at 3:30, followed by the Steelers and the Bengals. Big one there at 7 p.m. And then tune in Sunday when the Cowboys host the Commanders at noon, followed by the Chiefs and Broncos, which will also be a big one for the Bengals and Joe Burrow at 3:25. And the Vikings and Lions at 7:20. Your home for the NFL is 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So I got to pick between the Century and the Bengals tomorrow?
Seems that way. You can just have them on both. You know, you can have.
I'll monitor both. That's going to be like a 70-30 situation.
Yeah, I think so. Probably. Yeah, it's only the second round for the third round for the Century. So I mean, it still got Sunday.
I'm gonna go 70 on the Century.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess
primetime golf on that golf course has my heart. I realize that there are. I don't know how many people exactly listen to the show every day, but there are only 3 people listening that agree with that take, that they would rather watch the Century than the Bengals. The other 99+% that are listening to the show think that's the stupidest thing they've ever heard. And that's okay. We can all kind of do what we want to do.
Well,
this is what it is.
And the you've kind of transitioned, it seems, to being more of a Jaden Daniels fan than Joe Burrow,
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
I fist pumped for the Bengals last week. I did for the Commanders as well. But the Commanders they're in. So like that's where we are.
Yeah.
Joe and Jamar are stars. Like they're incredible. And I want them to get in. I just don't have any confidence that there's too much that needs to happen. I feel
there's a lot.
But we'll see. If they get in, I do think they're dangerous. And I would love it if they got in and shook things up a little bit. But you still are probably going to have to go to Buffalo and Arrowhead. And that's just not a great recipe with the defense that the Bengals have displayed. The thought of Josh Allen against that Bengals defense makes me a sad dude.
No, that wouldn't. I don't think that would work out too well.
It's not good. But good for Joe Brady, doing a great job. We'll see if he gets the Saints job, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about on Monday's show when we come back after a weekend of sports. We can finally get into some Saints coaching search talk, as Mike Bravel apparently is interviewing with the Jets this weekend. His contract with the Browns as a consultant is up, so he can go ahead and take those interviews. The Jets are going to talk to him first. I would hope sincerely that the Saints will talk to him, but we'll see. I've got a station survey coming up at LouisianaSports.net about who the folks here think the Saints are going to hire. We'll get to some of that a little bit later, too. To end things, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, first one here. There will be 9,000 plus in the PMAC tomorrow. Take it or leave it.
Ooh, I'll leave that for sure.
Leave it alone.
That was quick. I'm thinking in about half that.
Jeez, Hunt, really?
I would, yeah. I think 4,000, 4,500. I don't trust this town in early season basketball. If Kentucky was coming in, or Arkansas was coming in, or Bama was coming in, I would go higher. But Vanderbilt's not going to get it done. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't think people are going to go to that basketball game tomorrow.
Okay. All right, next one. On his team's upcoming matchup against Ohio State in the college football playoff semifinal, Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian said, quote, "Clearly we are massive underdogs and no one is going to give us a shot. Take it or leave it."
Sure, take it. Whatever.
I'll take it.
It's a classic coach. Kirby Smart came out at one point and said that nobody thought his team had a shot. So that's one of my favorite things. When I'll just bring one certain example up. When Devontae Smith won the Heisman Trophy, he's like, nobody gave me a shot. It's like, Devontae, you're a 4-star recruit, top 100 in the country. You got scholarship offers from LSU and Alabama. You started as a freshman and caught the national championship winning catch and won the Heisman Trophy. Who exactly was doubting you at this? Where was the doubt? I don't know who it could have been. You were given every opportunity and you earned every opportunity along the way. I just don't know if you had that many haters.
Yeah.
If Cam Scadaboo wants to get up there and tell me that there were a lot of people that doubted him, I'll agree with that because no one's ever heard of him. But Devontae Smith, and it's not unique to Devontae Smith. This happens all the time with supremely gifted athletes. Like, everybody doubted me. Really? Did we doubt you that much? I don't know.
All right, last one. The NCAA is considering allowing 5 years of eligibility for players in all sports moving forward, per an NCAA official. Is from John Rossi, a lot of other sources as well. But the topic will continue to be discussed in early 2025, apparently. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll leave it.
Leave it alone.
I'm going to, go with the flow here, and LSU will do what they do with it, whatever. But I feel like as a society, we've just pretty much said that every rule is a bad thing and we need to change it. We're relaxing every rule and regulation we have. And I'm not sure what to do with that, but you can pretty much, you got guys playing 9 years of college football. Isn't that tight end that was at Oregon and ended up at Florida State or Miami playing 9 years?
Yeah. Either not.
What are we doing here? Look, as I've always said, how does it impact LSU? Probably not very much. I don't know how many 5-year guys you're going to have. You may have gotten Rafe Rhymes or Mason
Josh
Cat.
Williams every now and then.
Yeah, that wanted to play for 5 years or whatever. But I don't think it's going to matter much. This is probably for lower level guys that want to keep playing, and I don't know if that's going to affect LSU, where guys are going to just want to leap to the next level. So that'll do it for Take It or Leave It here on this Friday. Of course, our Friday show's brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Highly recommend you check out that menu at corksfishandshrimp.com. Catering options are always available, and they're awesome at it. Big old trays of that crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy shoestring fries, the coleslaw, honey butter rolls, beignet bites, crawfish etouffee. They got it all. over there at Corks. Government between Foster and Jefferson. They bring you our Friday shows each and every week. That's going to wind things down for us here on this abbreviated week of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope it's been a good one. New Year's off to a good start for you, and that you have a great and safe weekend. We'll be back Monday recapping Saints Bucks and LSU-Vanderbilt. Hope the Tigers can get it done in Game 1 of conference play. I am headed to Rouse's Markets on Burbank and Lee. I'll be there until 5 o'clock, so if you're in the area, feel free to stop on by. Guess what? Big surprise for everyone. Matt Moscona is going to drive you home today. Been a few days, but he's back in the captain seat. He was the Sugar Bowl, so he's probably got some stories. I'm out of here. Y'all have a great weekend. See you Monday, same time, same place on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.